Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with all of you. This is that sacred time in which we dive together into truth. The truth that shows us who we are. And we dive in such a way to remove whatever it is that's keeping us from living in truth. Because if you're sitting here, chances are you know. You've read it, you've heard it. You know that who you are is divine. And yet, it's so difficult to live like that. We have all sorts of challenges and blocks to that. So satsang is a time to peel back the layers that keep us from living in truth. We start as usual with a question that's come in advance, and then we open it up to any questions that anyone here might have. And what matters most is there's no such thing as a silly question or a stupid question or a wrong question. If it's real for you and it's up for you, it's exactly the right question. Does denying the needs of the body and suppressing emotions create mental problems? If yes, should seekers renounce? So first of all, renunciation is not the answer to needs of the body or emotional issues. That becomes just repression or denial. That's just denial in saffron clothes. That's not what renunciation is about. It's not, oh, I've got these needs or I have these emotions and I don't want to deal with them, therefore I'm going to put on saffron clothes and pretend that I don't have them. Doesn't work. As anybody who's ever tried to change their clothes into anything knows, what you wear, it doesn't change what's going on in your mind or in the chemicals of your body. It reminds us of a path we're walking. But if you're angry in jeans and a t-shirt, you're going to be angry in saffron clothes. If you are lustful and greedy in jeans and a t-shirt, you're going to be lustful and greedy in saffron robes. You're just going to be more repressed about it. Or you're going to try to hide it more. So that doesn't actually serve anyone. So first of all, denying the needs of the body, does it cause mental problems? Well, first of all, it causes physical problems. The body has needs. Food, water, sleep, oxygen. Those are kind of the most basic. And yeah, in spiritual work, we do for short times deny those needs. For a short time. Not long enough to harm the body, but long enough actually to strengthen the mind, to teach us, the body is clamoring for food, but I'm fasting today. I'm not responding to that. And yet here I am. The sky hasn't fallen, I haven't exploded or imploded. The world hasn't ceased to exist. And it's a very powerful lesson because it teaches us that we are not simply responses to stimuli. We're not like Pavlov's dogs that salivate at a bell and, well, we don't have a choice. Yeah, sometimes the body sends a signal. It wants food, it wants water, it wants sleep, it wants sex, it wants this. And we act like, oh my God, I had no choice. What fasting does in a healthy way, what staying awake all night, every once in a while, we do it sometimes on Shivaratri, for example, or Krishna Janmashtami, or certain full moons. There are just very auspicious nights sometimes during the year to stay awake and meditate all night. And they're just very powerful times, not just to be awake in the night, but to teach the mind that just because the body is saying sleep doesn't mean I have to be a robot responding to it. Body can say sleep, and I say, not tonight. Not that sleep is bad, not that I'm not going to sleep again, not that we shouldn't get a good night's sleep, we should. And it's a very powerful way of training the mind to every once in a while engage in these practices, whether it's a short-term fast, whether it's staying awake all night meditating, whatever it may be, but something in which you know you're going to go back to it. I am going to eat again. I am going to sleep again. But simply to train the mind. I'm not just a reactionary mechanism. There's some chemical reaction in the body and I jump to attention. The mind says eat, I eat. The mind says do this, I do it. So it trains the mind. Now, if you don't give in to the body's needs ever, if you literally starve yourself, you will suffer. If you stop sleeping, you will suffer. There's lots of literature about, I think it's 2 nights of sleep. I can't remember exactly the statistics, but something like going 24 hours without sleep is something like the equivalent of drinking 3 glasses of alcohol. You're drunk. The mind and the brain and the body is that badly impaired. So to not sleep, to not eat, to not drink harms the body before it even harms the emotions. But in short-term controlled bursts, it's actually very, very powerful as a practice, a spiritual practice to remind us that we are not just slaves. In terms of suppression of emotion, yeah, you get mental problems. I mean, you become unhealthy. Mental health cannot be achieved through suppression. To simply say, I'm not angry, right? Somebody says to us, what's wrong? We say, nothing. Well, what has that actually achieved? Right? We know we're angry. They obviously know we're angry. It's achieved nothing but to draw a wedge further between us and that person who asked. And to deny it to ourselves is just as detrimental. You can't simply decide you are not angry. You have to actually work with anger. You have to make decisions that whatever it is that causes anger, my expectations, my grudges, that I'm actually going to work with those and let them go so that anger doesn't arise. Not just that I'm going to take it and suppress it. So whenever emotions are there, what I always say is, allow them. But don't hook the awareness into it. So it arises like a wave on the beach. It comes and it peaks and it dissipates and goes. We get stuck in emotions when we hook ourselves into it, when we start telling ourselves a story about it. So if I notice anger is arising, just the pure energy of anger, I'm not going to suppress it, I'm not going to deny it, I'm not going to repress it, but I'm also not going to get engaged in a whole drama around it. I'm not going to let the mind get into its whole story of why I'm angry and how dare that person and I'm so nice to them and I do everything and then they treat me like junk and it's not fair and who do they think they are, and that's not healthy. All that does is it just keeps creating more and more anger. It just keeps intensifying it. It's not actually helping you heal from it. It's just building it up more and more and more. So when emotions arise, we just notice them. Ah, anger. Okay. And then you just allow it. It's just an energy. Just like any energy. You close your eyes and you allow it to come into the body. And you just stay anchored in the breath. And it'll do its thing. It'll literally rise in the body. You'll feel the breath get a little shorter. You'll feel it, heartbeat start to increase a little. You may find yourself a little flushed. But you just keep drawing the awareness to the breath. Not to stop the anger, but just to stay grounded in the midst of it. Literally like you would if there were a big wave in the ocean. You just stay anchored and grounded. And it just comes and it rises and it peaks. And you're still sitting. You're still breathing. And then it dissipates. And again, like a wave, it just goes back out to sea. So that's the way to deal with emotions. Don't repress them or deny them. You'll give yourself not only mental health issues, but physical health issues. Because guess what? The mind and the body are not separate. What we think, how we feel, is directly linked to not only our mental health, but our physical health. So we allow it. We accept it. We see it. Not suppressing, not denying. You can't renounce anger. When we talk about renunciation, it's a renunciation of different types of attachments. It's a renunciation of different worldviews. It's a renunciation of different activities. But it's not a renunciation of emotion. You can't do that. The only way for them to dissipate is for you to notice them, be aware, allow, and then automatically they wane on their own. If you can just unhook the mind that wants to keep repeating it over and over and over again from it. Other questions? Any question here? Yeah.
I really wonder.
He's just bringing you a mic. Jaldi aana bhi. It's on.
Firstly, pranams to you, Ma. And I really wonder, we all are seeking, we are seekers. Why the path of a seeker is so painful? And enlightenment does not come easy.
Why is the path of a seeker so painful? It doesn't have to be painful. But I know the pain you're talking about, and it's actually a very sweet pain. It's the pain of longing. It's the pain of loving and having known the presence, the touch of the beloved, and then not being able to feel it again. It's that sense of I have been in love, in union, and where has my beloved gone? I'm calling out to the beloved. Why is the beloved not responding? That's the pain of the seeker. And it's a very sweet pain, actually, because it's the pain of yearning. And so on a path of seeking, we actually appreciate that pain, appreciate those tears, because they bring us closer. There's a concept when we talk about the dark night of the soul. And that dark night of the soul is that sense of finally realizing that all of the stories I've been telling myself about who I am are not real, are not true. I don't know who I am. I'm calling out for the divine. And I'm not able in that moment to have the divine or to feel the divine take me. That's that sense of dark night of the soul, is everything I always thought was true is false. I'm reaching out into what feels like a void. And that's very fertile suffering. It's suffering in which the soil of which deep, deep, deep spiritual awareness grows. That suffering makes us realize God hasn't gone anywhere. We've gone somewhere. When we're longing for God and we can't feel God, the question to ask ourselves is not where has God gone, but where have I gone? What have I gotten wrapped up in? What has happened to my way of thinking, my attention, my priorities? What is now occupying my mind that makes me no longer able to see God? The sadhana that we do, the reason we do it is it clears our eyes, it clears our mind so that we can see the truth. It's not that you meditate and miraculously God comes, or you pray to God and suddenly God comes. It's that through meditation, through prayer, through japa, through seva, through yoga, through these practices, our eyes become pure, our mind becomes purified, so that we actually can see. The dirt gets washed off so we can see. So that pain is beautiful because the pain means you're not living in illusion. You're not living in the eat, drink, and be merry view of life. You realize there is something more. You're reaching out for it. But when you don't find it, don't ask yourself, where has God gone? I'm in pain. Ask yourself, where have I gone? What's happened to me? And that's the ending of the suffering. So don't worry about it. Love that pain, love that suffering. It means you are calling out to God. But just know that God hasn't gone anywhere. You're not separate. All that's happened is your mind has shifted, got temporarily distracted, got temporarily covered with something, and you just need to wash it off. Keep doing the prayers, keep doing the japa, keep doing the meditation, the seva, all of that. You'll feel it. It'll come. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes.
Pranam.
Pranam.
So, how to connect with God that we are stable and we do not get affected by other? How can we connect with God?
How to connect with God and how to stay stable so we're not affected by others. We'll talk about the second part first and the first part second. So, stability. First of all, realize you're always going to be affected by others. We are energetic beings. It's like saying, how can I teach me something so that I can stand under an air conditioner and not feel cold? Teach me something so that I can stand in the water and not get wet. You can't do that. There's an energy of cool air coming onto you. You will respond to that cool air. The energy of you responds to the energy of the cool air. Your body temperature will change. When you stand in water, you will get wet. The energy of the water changes the energy of the surface level of you. In the same way, we're always going to be impacted energetically by people around us. Because they are energy and we are energy, and we're not actually separate. It's why there's certain people in certain situations that feel like, I just want to be around that person. Right? This is what we talk about, good vibes. Right? It means it's someone whose vibrational frequency works very beautifully with our vibrational frequency. And so in their presence we feel heightened, we feel uplifted, we feel inspired, we feel connected. And then there's other people in whose presence we feel like, when can I get myself away from this person? When are they going to leave? And it doesn't mean they're good or bad, it just means that energy doesn't work so well with your energy. So don't expect that you're going to suddenly become, a piece of stone and not be impacted. But recognize that you are an energy transmitter as much as an energy receiver. And some of us have a tendency to receive more and transmit less. And that's when you feel really impacted and affected by the energy of the world around you. And that's when you want to really work on your internal energy transmitter. What's happened to that? Because our energy comes from within. Source is within ourselves. But we have to be connected. We have to be plugged in. So for example, these lights are great lights as long as they're plugged into the electricity. If they're not plugged in, it doesn't matter how great the lamp may be. If it's not plugged in, that electricity is not going to flow through. In the same way, plug yourself in. Means get yourself connected. And this will bring us to the connection to God. Get yourself connected to that divine. Connect to the divine, to that source of energy that's flowing into you, from you, as you, through you. Because your internal source should not be less. It shouldn't feel like there's more energy from outside and less from inside. It should be even more from inside. Because you're generated in it even more strongly. So whenever you feel like you're getting too much energy from outside, just drop within. And connect with that source within. Connect back to the divine. Plug yourself in. And how do you do that? Well, people do it in all sorts of ways. We pray. Just talk to God. Whatever language you use, whatever words you use, it doesn't matter. God understands all languages, all prayers. And if you don't feel like you can connect to God in a particular name, a particular form, a particular tradition, don't worry. Hug a tree. And feel the presence of the divine in that tree. Hug another human being, hug an animal. Open your heart to a sunset or a sunrise. And feel that presence of the divine. Lie in the dirt, lie in the grass, lie in the water, in a river, a lake, an ocean. And feel that divine energy flowing under you, around you, near you, through you. And feel that presence of the divine in all. And then whenever you need to charge yourself, to plug yourself in, go back. Go back and hug that tree again. Hug that person again. Hug the animal again. Or, if you connect to God in a specific form or name or way or tradition, beautiful, use that. Chant the Hanuman Chalisa, chant a mantra, do puja, beautiful. If that's something that is a part of your spiritual tradition. God is infinite. So there's an infinite number of ways of connecting with God. Use whatever way works for you, whatever way turns on your own internal divine energy production factory. So that you don't feel like you're getting so much from outside, you feel like you're producing it more from the inside. Okay. There are very powerful monks who can go and sit in the snow, wet and naked. And they put wet towels on the backs of these monks, sitting in the snow, in the freezing weather. And these monks are able to generate so much heat in their bodies that they actually dry the towels on their backs. Now, I'm not going to give you that as a homework assignment. But hold that as a reminder in your mind of the power of the energy within you. It's not that those monks were somehow created by some different mold than you were. Whatever they have, you have. They just have more practice. But you have that same power. So if they can literally transform the very temperature of their body to such a degree that they can dry a wet towel in the freezing weather, sitting in snow, surely you are able to generate some beautiful, loving, positive energy, even in the face of negativity or doubt or judgment around you. Right? They're the advanced course. But you only need, for this purpose, you only need the beginner's course. So start there, and you'll see suddenly that you're much less impacted by that which is happening around, because you've got this very strong love and truth and peace production factory happening within you. Beautiful. Other questions? Yes.
Pranam Mataji. These days we hear a lot.
Hold it just a little, yeah.
Yeah, these days we hear a lot about the energy shift of the planet and 5D consciousness. So please share your wisdom regarding this.
The energy shift of the planet. Well, whatever worldview you use to look at, whether we look here in our Vedic view of yugas, whether you look at Mayan views, whether you look at, it doesn't matter what perspective we use of any ancient, sacred, indigenous traditions. By everyone's calculations, we are moving into a place of greater and heightened, deeper consciousness. But at the same time, we are moving through a period of great darkness. So at midnight, for example, you are moving into light. At 4 p.m. in the afternoon, you're moving into darkness. Daylight is waning. You're at the end of daylight hours, the beginning of the end of daylight hours. Afternoon, we start losing light, moving into darkness. From midnight, we start moving from darkness into light. We are in that shift, moving from darkness into light. But there's still darkness. And that's why it's so critical for every one of us to become an instrument of light. Because it's not something that is happening to us, it is something that is happening through us. We are the ones through whom the shift is happening. And so every person who gets more connected to light, to truth, to consciousness, is helping shift the energy of the world. And that's why every one of us has this beautiful opportunity. Yeah, it's definitely more difficult than it was in eras of light, of truth, of goodness. We are in a yuga of darkness. But that gives us great potential. Because in darkness, a candle shines much more brightly. A candle has a lot more power and impact in darkness than in light. And so each one of us has that power and potential and opportunity to be a light that then shares the light with all. Every light can light so many others without losing any of its light. And that's what we're all really called upon to do right now, is to connect with Source within us, to let go of the darkness in us, not through repression or denial or suppression, but through lighting lamps of wisdom. This is why we light a diya every morning in, most traditional, devout Hindus in their temple in the morning. With whatever prayers they may do, there's sort of one universal, ubiquitous aspect of it, which is an oil lamp. You light the lamp. Why do we light the lamp? Not because God needs it to help see. We light it to remind us, I'm now going to go into my day. We do it in the morning, first thing. I'm now going to go into my day. May I move into my day with the light of wisdom, the light of truth, so that I can see my path, I can see the way. I can see who I really am, which is not body and story and bank account and title and career and role. But I can see my truth is divine. And I can see others not as body and title and career and role, but I can see others as divine. And I can see my purpose not as accumulating more and more. Because if you've ever worked with candles or oil lamps or anything that's burning, you know, the more you put onto it, you actually suffocate it. The more you bring close into it, you actually start to suffocate the oxygen, and eventually you will extinguish it. So it reminds us my dharma is not about accumulating more and more, but actually about clearing more and more space in my own consciousness so that my light can shine even brighter and brighter. And so we light the lamp in the morning to remind us of that. And then each of us brings that light into the day. And again, it's not a light that is repressing darkness or denying darkness. It's a light that sees the darkness, that acknowledges the darkness, and then says, what does this moment want from me? What can I bring to this moment? Well, in a moment of darkness, I can bring light. And that to me is always the best question to ask. What does this moment want from me? How can I, in this moment, be a vehicle, a vessel, an instrument of light, of love, which is an energy also. So we connect with Source within us. We get turned on like the lamp through being plugged in. And then we're able to bring that to the world, and we keep charging our batteries, doing whatever we need to do to keep ourselves charged, connected, plugged in. And then we help shift this energy into more light and more love. Beautiful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evenings. And I look so forward to being together with you all tomorrow.